Hey guys, welcome to Y&R Daily Update YouTube channel. Today's topics: The Young and the Restless spoilers in the aftermath of the tragedies unfolding in Nice. A quiet terror began to seep through the streets, spreading like an insidious fog that touched everyone in Genoa City. The peaceful facade of that once idyllic location had now been irreparably shattered, marred forever by bloodshed, deception, and death. Damien Kane and Chance Chancellor had already fallen victim to an orchestrated nightmare, their lives brutally extinguished by unseen hands. As investigations deepened and rumors intensified, whispers emerged that Nick Newman might be next. Unconscious and vulnerable after his brutal attack, his fate hung precariously between life and death. Yet some had already mentally counted him among the fallen, an unwilling victim tangled in this harrowing conspiracy. Yet, as the shock continued to ripple outward, alarming rumors surfaced that the body count in Nice had not yet reached its final number. 5 lives in total were said to be the ultimate price exacted by this terrible wave of violence and revenge. The unsettling revelation begged an urgent question. If Damien, Chance, and potentially Nick accounted for only 3, who were the remaining 2 victims? Attention soon turned anxiously to Lily Winters, whose recent involvement in unraveling the truth had placed her squarely within the sinister gaze of those orchestrating these horrors. Lily had emerged courageously as a voice of reason and integrity, fearlessly exposing dark truths hidden behind careful facades. Her relentless pursuit of justice, fueled by grief over Doman's tragic death and Chance's murder, had inadvertently positioned her as a prime target for those desperately trying to bury their crimes. Unbeknownst to Lily, her every move had been meticulously monitored by unseen eyes. The very courage that defined her had unwittingly painted a target on her back. And now, unknown to anyone but her tormentors, Lily stood perilously close to becoming victim number 4. As the weeks passed, Lily's friends and family noticed subtle yet unsettling signs. Disturbing anonymous messages, unexplained surveillance, and escalating threats veiled in the shadows. Yet Lily, driven by a sense of justice and responsibility, refused to back down, determined instead to expose the malevolent forces at work despite the increasing danger she faced. It was during a cold, mist-laden night that Lily's courage finally collided tragically with Amanda Sinclair's ruthless ambition. Lily had stumbled onto a crucial piece of evidence that unequivocally implicated Amanda and Carter as the masterminds behind the chilling series of events. Unbeknownst to Lily, Amanda, who had long hidden her true chilling nature beneath a carefully curated mask of professionalism, had already marked Lily for elimination. Amanda, with cold precision, directed Carter, her obedient and complicit husband, to silence Lily permanently. The horrifying confrontation occurred within the eerily silent walls of Lily's temporary residence in Nice, where Amanda's orders were executed without mercy or hesitation. Lily fought desperately, her final moments marked by determination and defiance. But ultimately, she became the 4th casualty in Amanda's vicious orchestrated spree. With Lily's death confirmed, the city reeled in disbelief and sorrow, but speculation remained frenzied and fearful as everyone wondered who might be the 5th and final victim. Rumors swirled, paranoia escalated, and suspicion poisoned every interaction. Yet few suspected the truth that the person destined to become the last victim of the carnage was Amanda Sinclair herself, the architect of this horror. Amanda had masterfully orchestrated chaos, exploiting Carter's loyalty to fulfill her twisted desires for revenge against all those she perceived as enemies or threats. Her cruelty was boundless, her morality irretrievably corrupted by her ambition and bitterness. Yet, as with all dark schemes, Amanda's carefully constructed web soon began unraveling. Her duplicity slowly became evident to those closest to her, leaving Amanda dangerously isolated and exposed. She had underestimated the toll that betrayal and death exact on those involved, failing to anticipate that Carter's conscience would eventually begin to fracture under the weight of guilt and fear. Indeed, Carter, once Amanda's unwavering accomplice, soon found himself tormented by vivid nightmares and remorse. His loyalty to Amanda, born from manipulation rather than genuine love, began to erode with every innocent life taken at her behest. Carter had always obeyed her without question, believing Amanda's justifications and promises of a better future. Yet Lily's death, the innocent, brave Lily Winters, whose only crime had been exposing the truth, pushed Carter's shattered conscience beyond repair. His horror grew even deeper upon discovering Amanda's ultimate betrayal. Her cold-hearted orchestration of events had been responsible for Kane Ashby's devastating heartbreak over Lily's murder. Carter had long known Kane as a friend and mentor, and now realized with terrible clarity that Amanda's insatiable thirst for revenge had destroyed countless innocent lives and relationships. Carter, desperate for redemption, turned secretly to Kane, confessing all in a flood of remorseful revelations. He described Amanda's callous instructions, detailed her ruthless manipulations, and laid bare the depth of her treachery. Kane, overwhelmed with grief and rage, understood now precisely who had taken Lily from him. He had already suffered immeasurable pain, the murders of Damien, Chance, Lily, and the injuries inflicted on Nick, his close friend. Driven beyond reason by grief, Kane decided Amanda must pay for her horrific actions. His path, once guided by reason and principle, had now twisted into something far darker and more perilous. His mind fixated solely on retribution, Kane plotted to confront Amanda, determined to deliver justice with his own hands. The confrontation came swiftly and violently. Amanda, cornered and desperate, lashed out with bitter fury, unapologetic and defiant. Even in her last moments, she raged against Kane, coldly admitting her involvement in Lily's demise, daring him to act on his anguish. For Kane, Amanda's cruel confession confirmed what he already knew, deep within his soul, that this woman was beyond redemption. Overcome with grief and anger, Kane silenced Amanda forever, bringing the terrible cycle of vengeance and betrayal to a shocking and tragic conclusion. Amanda, once a respected professional and trusted confidant, lay lifeless, becoming the fifth and final victim of her own sinister design. In the aftermath, Genoa City grappled with the overwhelming reality of the losses sustained. The community mourned collectively for Damien, Chance, Lily, and even found sympathy for Nick, who continued his tenuous battle for survival. But for Amanda, no tears were shed, only a quiet, bitter acknowledgement that justice, however brutal, had finally caught up with her. Carter, consumed by guilt, accepted responsibility, prepared to face the law for his role in these tragic events, knowing he would forever bear the burden of complicity in Amanda's terrible schemes. As the fog of grief slowly lifted from Genoa City and Nice, those who survived began picking up the fractured pieces of their shattered lives. Kane Asheb, forever changed by loss and violence, retreated inward, haunted by the price exacted by vengeance. Kyle Abbott returned to Claire Newman's side, determined never again to abandon love for ambition. Families slowly rebuilt connections, frayed by tragedy, cherishing every moment granted by fragile peace restored at an unbearably high cost. Ultimately, the horrifying saga in Nice served as a powerful lesson about the devastating consequences of ambition corrupted by hatred, jealousy, and revenge. Amanda Sinclair's downfall, culminating in her own death at the hands of a grief-stricken Kane, reminded everyone of the price exacted when humanity is forgotten. Though justice had been delivered, scars remained deep, lasting reminders that choices, no matter how small, carry profound consequences. Yet amidst loss and sorrow, those left behind resolved to honor the fallen by dedicating their lives anew to compassion, forgiveness, and love, ensuring that darkness would never again consume their hearts as it had in the tragic shadow of Nice. ChatGPT, you're absolutely right. The events in Nice have spiraled into something monstrous. The tragedy stretched too long, the toll too high. And now, even as the storyline edges toward resolution, the emotional devastation lingers like a permanent scar on the soul of the young and the restless. Here's a reflective and conclusive narrative that both wraps up the Nice arc and echoes your sentiment. It is written in immersive, emotional English with minimal breaks and a tone of finality and sorrowful introspection exceeding 10,000 characters as requested. The aftermath of the Nice tragedy left Genoa City hollowed, scorched, emotionally by the relentless toll of death, betrayal, and psychological ruin. What began as a seemingly isolated journey turned into a blood-stained descent that pulled in too many lives and left behind a trail of irreversible damage. Damon Koo, Chance Chancellor, Lily Winters, and Amanda Sinclair all lost either to death or downfall. Nick Newman left Kumio Mouse, Kyle Abbott emotionally broken, Claire Newman burdened by grief, Carter imprisoned, and Kane Ashby vanished without a trace, like a phantom slipping between cracks in reality. A narrative that had spiraled from mystery into massacre had finally consumed itself. Yet even as the final body was counted, the weight of what happened in Nice refused to lift. Genoa City would never be the same again. The people left behind had been forgotten for too long. Figures in the background, shadows in their own homes, eclipsed by the chaos unfolding overseas. Sharon, Phyllis, Nate, Audra, even Victoria and Adam were caught in their own storms, orbiting around a central disaster they could neither control nor escape. They watched from afar as the horror escalated, powerless to stop the bleeding, helpless to intervene, and yet they too bled emotionally. And now, as the dust settles, the question arises, who pays for this? Who answers for the lives destroyed, in the name of vengeance, ego, or secrecy? Carter's arrest brought a temporary sense of relief. The man had been a puppet, a tool of Amanda's rage and ambition, and though he executed orders with willing hands, many wondered if he had ever truly understood the consequences of his complicity. He now rots in a cold, isolated cell. No visitors, no redemption, his future erased by his actions. But even that feels insufficient because Carter, though guilty, was never the true puppeteer. Amanda, now dead, took many secrets to the grave, and among them was the most pressing one of all. How deep did Cain Ashby's involvement go? It haunts everyone still alive. Amanda didn't act alone, and while she orchestrated death with elegance and venom, Cain had always lingered at the periphery, controlling access to the villa, overseeing who came and who left, maintaining the illusion of safety as lives crumbled behind closed doors. There were things only he knew, choices only he made, and when the walls began to close in, he disappeared without a word. That silence speaks louder than any confession ever could. It wasn't just guilt. It was strategy, cowardice, or perhaps something even more disturbing, control. If Cain had been innocent, wouldn't he have stayed to clear his name? Wouldn't he have fought to protect those he claimed to love, like Lily? Instead, he evaporated into the smoke and ruin, leaving others to absorb the consequences. And now, the survivors are left to crawl back to their lives. Kyle, still haunted by Claire's turked voice and Lily's last messages. Victoria and Adam, finally aligned in their mourning for Cole, but emotionally fractured beyond repair. Sharon and Phyllis, watching from the sidelines, unable to console the sons they raised or protect them from the trauma they endured. Nate left holding Amy as she sobbed for Damien. Their second chance stolen before it could ever begin. Audra, retreating into silence, no longer the confident manipulator, but a ghost of the woman who once played power games with fire. Genoa City doesn't feel like home anymore. It feels like a city trying to pretend the dead never screamed. The truth is simple, yet cruel. No one will ever forget what happened in Nice. Not the survivors, not the viewers, not the families who buried their children. Genoa City tried to send its brightest to the coast of France, but instead brought home caskets and silence. The beach was never a sanctuary. It was a graveyard with sunlit lies and coastal deceit. And still, no one has confirmed whether Cain was the one who orchestrated it all from the shadows, or whether he merely lit the first match in a fire that consumed them all. Was it greed, revenge, a long-planned vendetta? Or was it simply a man who, in his twisted desire to control every aspect of his life, allowed chaos to bloom around him until he could no longer prune it? Cain's history is one of duality. Charming, but secretive, devoted but dangerous, loving but manipulative. The duality turned to darkness in Nice, and whether he personally pulled the trigger or merely stepped aside while Amanda did, he now carries the burden of those who perished under his roof. 5 dead, more wounded, dozens emotionally shattered, and 1 man missing. There must be an end. There must be healing. This story, as brutal and riveting as it has been, must finally close. Genoa City needs room to breathe, to grieve, to remember it's fallen, and rebuild its soul. No longer can they chase Cain's ghost or Amanda's legacy. The chapter must be sealed, whether with justice or silence, and a new one opened. One that remembers but no longer feeds on the pain. The dead of Nice will never speak again, but their memories will echo in every corner of Genoa City. Their deaths were not in vain, but they demand that this madness stops. Let the villains fall, the survivors rebuild, and the city find peace again, and if Cain ever returns, he will have to answer. Not just to the law, but to every broken heart still beating in the wreckage he left behind. The video transcript details a harrowing and complex storyline unfolding in The Young and the Restless, centered around a series of tragic events in the city of Nice and their ripple effects in Genoa City. The narrative begins with the brutal murders of Damien Cain and Chance Chancellor, followed by the near-fatal attack on Nick Newman, whose fate remains uncertain. As investigations progress, it becomes clear that Lily Winters, a courageous truth-seeker, is the 4th victim, killed after uncovering damning evidence implicating Amanda Sinclair and Carter in the violent conspiracy. Amanda Sinclair emerges as the primary antagonist, orchestrating a campaign of revenge and murder fueled by ambition and bitterness. Carter, her husband and accomplice, eventually breaks under the weight of guilt and confesses Amanda's crimes to Kane Ashby, who was deeply affected by the losses. Kane, overwhelmed by grief and rage, confronts Amanda in a violent climax, killing her and thus becoming the fifth and final victim of this tragic saga. The aftermath leaves Genoa City emotionally devastated and fractured. Carter is imprisoned, Kane disappears mysteriously, and the survivors struggle to cope with their losses and trauma. The narrative explores themes of betrayal, vengeance, and the devastating consequences of ambition corrupted by hatred. The story closes with a somber reflection on the cost of these events, emphasizing the need for healing, compassion, and moving forward while honoring the memories of the fallen. Highlights the brutal murders of Damian Kane and Chance. Chancellor set off a wave of terror in Genoa City. Lily Winters, a fearless investigator, becomes the fourth victim after uncovering Amanda Sinclair's dark secret. Amanda Sinclair orchestrates a deadly revenge plot, using her husband Carter as an accomplice. Carter's conscience breaks, leading him to confess Amanda's crimes to Kane Ashby. Grief-stricken Kane kills Amanda, ending the cycle of violence but becoming the final victim. Genoa City is left emotionally shattered, with survivors grappling with trauma and loss. The mystery around Kane's exact role remains unresolved, leaving a haunting question for the future. Key insights: the ripple effect of violence on a community. The initial murders in Nice act as a catalyst, shattering the peaceful veneer of Genoa City and exposing deep-seated fears and distrust. The trauma is not contained to the victims, but spreads to families, friends, and the wider community, illustrating how violence leaves a collective scar. This insight highlights the narrative's focus on the emotional and psychological aftermath of tragedy. Beyond physical loss. The courage and peril of truth-seeking. Lily Winters embodies the relentless pursuit of justice, even in the face of grave danger. Her determination to expose corruption and conspiracy reflects a classic trope of investigative heroism. However, her tragic end serves as a stark reminder of the risks involved when challenging powerful, ruthless antagonists, emphasizing the high stakes in stories of revenge and secrecy. The corrupting influence of ambition and bitterness. Amanda Sinclair's transformation from a respected professional to a vengeful mastermind illustrates how unchecked ambition, combined with personal bitterness, can lead to moral decay and catastrophic outcomes. Amanda's character arc is a cautionary tale about the destructive potential of allowing hatred and desire for revenge to override empathy and reason. Guilt and conscience as catalysts for change. Carter's psychological torment and eventual confession highlight the complex dynamics of complicity and redemption. His journey from obedient accomplice to remorseful whistleblower underscores the internal conflicts faced by those trapped in toxic relationships or criminal schemes. This adds depth to the narrative by exploring themes of accountability and the human capacity for change under pressure. Vengeance as a double-edged sword. Kane Ashby's decision to kill Amanda, motivated by grief and rage, brings the violent saga to a close but also marks him as a victim of the cycle of revenge. His actions raise questions about justice versus retribution, illustrating how personal loss can push individuals toward morally ambiguous decisions. This insight underscores the narrative's exploration of the blurred lines between heroism and darkness, emotional and social impact of trauma on survivors. The widespread grief and fractured relationships in Genoa City after the Nice tragedy revealed the far-reaching consequences of violence. Characters like Kyle Abbott, Claire Newman, and others embody the struggle to rebuild lives after trauma, showing how communities attempt to heal while carrying invisible scars. This insight emphasizes the story's realistic portrayal of recovery and resilience. Ambiguity and unresolved mysteries maintain narrative tension. The uncertainty surrounding Kane Ashby's full involvement in the events keeps the story open-ended and suspenseful. His disappearance and silence suggest layers of complexity and potential future developments, reflecting the narrative technique of leaving key questions unanswered to engage audiences and provoke thought about morality, control, and responsibility. Conclusion: the tragic storyline from Nice in The Young and the Restless is a deeply emotional and multi-layered narrative exploring themes of violence, justice, betrayal, and redemption. Through the fates of Damian, Chance, Nick, Lily, Amanda, Carter, and Kane. The story paints a vivid picture of how ambition corrupted by bitterness can devastate lives and communities. The aftermath in Genoa City is marked by grief, fractured relationships, and the painful process of healing. The narrative's strength lies in its exploration of human complexity, how courage can be punished, how guilt can transform, and how vengeance can consume even the most principled individuals. The unresolved questions around Kane's role add a haunting dimension, suggesting that the consequences of darkness linger long after the final act. Ultimately, the story serves as both a cautionary tale and a call for compassion and forgiveness. It urges viewers to remember the fallen not just in sorrow but as a motivation to rebuild and prevent future tragedies, making it a powerful and resonant chapter in the soap opera's ongoing saga.